Live from Latrobe Motorsports Studios, this is Ride Along with Howie, from the fast half-mile track at Latrobe Speedway, where it's grassroots racing at its finest. Here's Howie.
Race fans, who's ready for another edition of Ride Along with Howie, sponsored by Joe's Body Shop and Towing and the folks at SMB Promotions. Tonight's first guest, one of the top crate late model pilots in the area, former track champion up at the Roaring Knob Motorsports Complex, Mr. John Over. John, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Howie.
Appreciate you taking time to go for a while. You all right?
I am.
All right. Like I said, I appreciate you taking time, going along for a ride with us. Good season so far. It's been very consistent. A lot of top five finishes, up to second in the points. Not a bad year so far.
No, the car's running real well. The driver has not done so well in the feature on a couple of them. I've always been a bad pull pillar, and that's pretty relevant. This past weekend, we won the heat race and pulled a 7 to start 7th in the feature, and just got hit a little bit on the back stretch during the race, and we were moving forward, and the car felt real good for the first 5 laps, and when I got hit in the right rear tire, something was bent on the car, because the car was just never the same after that.
Were you guys able to bring it back to the shop and tear it apart and figure out what was bent?
Well, with the holiday yesterday, I didn't work on the car, but I got it all cleaned up today, and tomorrow night we'll figure out what's going on with it and get it back to where it needs to be for Saturday night. Probably have to run down to Rocket on Thursday and pick up a few parts, and we'll put her all back together Friday night. So,
John, one thing, this car, definitely a very eye-catching car as we look. Very reflective with the K2, and definitely shows up well on the track. And you got this car last year, and we've talked before, you were ready to call it a career. You had a great career racing. You won up in the super lates. You won a lot of crate late model races. And you were ready just to basically call it a career, walk away before last season. And your biggest fan out there and her family, your wife, Michelle Sissanover, convinced you to come back racing. And, you looked at her and you said, well, everything's gone. We got rid of the trailer. We got rid of the cars and everything. She said, John, they make them every day. And, it has to be great when your family supports your passion that much.
Yeah, my wife is absolutely fantastic. And we had everything sold. I had good success in a Warrior car prior to that, and ran. We won 2 track championships at Roaring Knob in 2010 and 2011. They had some of the highest car counts in the area back then. They had 30-some crate late models running at the track at Roaring Knob at that time. And we were in a Rocket, a blue-gray front suspension Rocket at the time. When I won the track championship in 2011, Doug Horton at the time was just beginning his high gear speed shop, and he was a Warrior dealer in this area and was giving away a chassis to the champion. So we built that chassis, worked with him, and I ran that chassis until 2014. And we had a pretty big accident down in Winchester in 2014 with that chassis. It destroyed it. I rolled the car 7 times, leading. We were second fastest qualifier, broke the track record down there. And just, we were leading our heat race by a wide margin. And unfortunately, my teammates and my crew were near the fence, they were telling me to slow down, and the track just had so much bite in it at that point that me actually slowing down caused the problem because it just bit so hard it rolled the car right over. So, but then I bought another Warrior off of Bobby Lake and ran it and sold it in 2019, and I was ready to retire. And like you said, she's been supportive of everything that I do in business and in leisure. So we enjoy ourselves together, and she knew that I would miss it. And, she actually told me to just go buy a car. So, and I did.
And you went back to the chassis that you had so much success in, the Rocket, where you mentioned you won a lot of races, a couple track championships. And when you came back with that Warrior you got off Bobby Lake, it just seemed like the technology in this area, there were a lot of Warriors at one point. You, Michael Lake, Rick, he was driving the 48 car. Rick,
Oh, I know who you're talking about. A great guy from down in West Virginia.
Down in Morgantown, yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry Haslew's brother-in-law. And
Yep.
Costles were running them, and Doug was still bouncing around with them. But it just seemed like as time went on, the Warrior up in this area were going less and less. And Dillinger had one, and you were one of the last guys up in this area to have the Warrior chassis. Good chassis, but it has to be hard when you're going to the track and you're the only guy running that brand of car. So, I know you're an engineer and you're a very technical guy and you're a very smart guy, but sometimes with racing, it's monkey see, monkey do. If you see your neighbors doing something and it's working, then you want to apply it to your car. But again, different cars, different metal, different everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, the Warrior chassis that I ended up selling, it was a very good car. And, Mike Knuckles does a great job down there. He's easy to communicate with. I can't say anything bad about the chassis or, the input that I received from him. But you are right. The technology changed in 2016 with the XR1 and Longhorns, came into the sport shortly before that. Even Warrior, came out with a new chassis, the Comanche chassis. So the technology was changing. The geometry of the cars were all changing. They were making the cars a lot more rigid than they were in the past. That Warrior 1G car flexed a lot in the front end. It steered very well, but the technology changed, and getting in a crate class, you're so equal with the other cars. It's all about getting into and through the turns, and you can look like you have 100 more horsepower than the next car if you get into the turn better and through the turns better than the next guy in clean air. Everybody can say, well, what's he doing to get through so fast? It's just about the setup and keeping the momentum up in the car and getting through the turns.
What do you enjoy more? The working on the car, the technical, brainy side of the car, or the actual driving of it?
So I really, really enjoy it. And my wife will tell you, I'll get lost in the garage. I just love the technical aspect of the setups on these cars and making sure that, I've done everything that I can do to make the car the best it can be going into the race. These young guys like Michael Duritsky and Braden Dillinger, I mean, they're working on their stuff on a regular basis. With all my businesses that I have and the stuff that I got going on, I've got some limited time, and technology is somewhat passing me by. But I mean, I've dedicated. I think the car was really, really good Saturday night in the heat race. It turned better than it had for a while, and those two guys in particular, and like the third time that I finished second to Mike Duritsky 2 weeks ago, my brother kind of dug at me a little bit in the pits. He said, "Well, you'd have three wins this year. It wasn't for that 90J." So he got me motivated, and I got back in the garage and really went through the car real hard the week that we had off before the 4th of July. So
now coming up this upcoming Saturday, we have the Charlie Field Memorial, and Michael Ott, that was Charlie's grandson. The family donated some money to try to increase the purse. It's going to be 24-lap race. That was Charlie's number when he raced, but I found out today through the grapevine that K2 Engineering is actually stepping up in honor of Charlie and giving more money for 2nd through 5th. And I'd like to thank John, you personally, for all that you do. People might not be aware of this, but you do a lot to help racing in general. You're a very giving person. You're just one who doesn't want the spotlight, but you deserve the spotlight, John, for all that you do and everybody you help.
Well, I mean, my wife and daughter and I, we've been blessed. I certainly work very hard at what we do, but I've been blessed. And one thing about it, my wife's uncle Gary Sisson has shown me through his giving efforts, what it's like to get back to the sport that we all love. I mean, this runs through your blood. And even when I sold everything back in 2019 and was ready to step away, I mean, I was going to miss it, and she knew it. And I probably would have ended up just like he is every Friday and Saturday night in the stand somewhere watching a race. And he gives back to this day to the local racers. And that's what it's all about is, I mean, this sport's getting tougher by the day with tire costs and fuel costs and everything associated with racing. The costs are not the average guy. It's tough to do. I mean, I've been blessed and we can afford to do it, and I can afford to give back a little bit and help the racers out in the community and help the local tracks, especially like Latrobe and Dennis and Kathy and SMB Motorsports, what they're doing down there at Latrobe. George Teslovich, they call upon me and I'll help them out in any way. But, it's nice to help out people like that when you see the efforts that they're also putting in. I mean, for somebody just to call me and ask for money and I don't see an effort on their part, I mean, I'm just not going to contribute at that rate. I mean, but when I see efforts being put in by the promoter, by the owner of the track, and then at that point, a couple $100 here or there is not going to hurt my family.
John, how did you get involved in racing?
So back when I was younger, my dad actually raced. I think they called it the Junkyard Dog Division or something like that at the Morgantown Speedway. He and his friend had a junker that they raced up at Morgantown, and my mom would load me up in a car on Saturday nights, and we'd go down to Morgantown. And when I turned 14 years old, my brother and I bought a go-kart, and we started racing go-karts at Fairmont. And I raced go-karts, and we actually traveled a little bit until I was graduated from high school and actually got out of the sport altogether. I went to college, moved away from the area, and really didn't get back into racing until 1999 when I bought a Ford Street Stock from Bedford off of Troy Forsythe, I think his name was. And then I began racing that street stock in 2000 up at Roaring Knob. And we also raced at Cumberland Speedway at the time, so at the Rock.
And then you've been doing it pretty much ever since.
Yep, we raced that street stock for, I think, 4 years. And in 2006, I bought a a 2003 black front end rocket off of Ryan Markham in Ohio, and we raced that car for 2 years until I got the blue gray car off of Mason Ziegler. I bought that off of Fred Ziegler. So.
And one more question: where did the number come from, K2?
So my daughter's name's Mackenzie, but everybody calls her Kenzie, and she was born in February, which is the second month. So that's why I named my company K2 Engineering, and that's why I kept the K2 number for the race car. So.
And John, you mentioned earlier it takes a lot of people and a lot to be able to do this. Let's go ahead now and thank all the sponsors and the pit crew and families that give up their time so we can go have some fun.
Well, first and foremost, like you said, Howie, I gotta thank my wife the most. I mean, like I said, she's been supportive 100%. She came into my life when I was racing, and she's been supportive of racing and everything that I do in my career. So I've got to thank her first and foremost. I got to thank my brother Gary, Tim Koffler, and Joe Tessero. Those three guys have been with me since I started racing. When I bought the street stock, my brother was still in the Navy. He put 24 years in and retired as a senior master chief in the Navy. But ever since he's been retired, those three guys basically have been with me the whole time and are supportive of me. My wife's uncle, Gary Sisson, Gary's Auto Sales, has been on the car from my street stock divisions all the way through today. He's very supportive of what I do, and is always encouraging me. K2 Engineering, my company, and Tri-State Design Services is another one of my companies, and the employees of those companies, they're all very, very supportive, and they're all looking forward to a K2 Engineering night at the races at Latrobe, hopefully shortly. Got to thank Ultralight Brakes and Hodges Transmission Services for all the support they provide me from the braking standpoint on the car. Got to thank Bright Stripe in Matt George and also Michael George and the George family from around this area. They've been very supportive of my efforts. And of course, I got to thank a big thank you to Tuffy Schallenberger and the Pittsburgh River Hounds. I've been a big supporter of that soccer team and the soccer league itself, and soccer is growing in the Pittsburgh area. So big shout out to him and that team and the support that they provide to my race team. So.
Hey, John, thank your brother for his service. More importantly, thank your wife for making sure that John over, K2 Engineering, and your team stays in racing.
Thank you, Howie.
Hey, John, we appreciate your time going for a ride, and we'll see you this week. And race fans, be sure to keep your eyes on the K2 Engineering, Hodge Transmission, Pittsburgh Riverhound, Rocket. I'm telling you, John Ober has 2 career wins at Latrobe. He's going to be getting that 3rd one very soon. Thanks again, John, for your time.
Thank you.
Race fans, now going for a ride on the Ride Along with Howie, sponsored by Joe's Body Shop and Towing and SMB Promotion. It's the guy who has been the fastest car in the modified 4 cylinders, Bob Pease. Bob, welcome to Ride Along.
Hey, thanks, Howie. It's good to be here.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out to do this. Saturday night, another win. And this time you came from 12th starting position. So you had to work for it, and you and Paul Koffler, you guys did a driving display with showing how nimble and how fast those 4 cylinders really are.
Yeah, that was one of the most fun races I've ever run. That was really a lot of fun. I mean, trying to work your way through traffic. I mean, a couple times early on in the year, we got out front pretty quick, and then it was just driving around. But that Saturday, we definitely had to work for it. That was a lot of fun, especially running with somebody like Paul.
Is it more fun when you got to come up through the field versus starting up in the front? I mean,
it's easier to win from the front, that's for sure. But it is. I got to admit, it is a little more fun coming from the back, or coming from the middle of the field. Where you have to actually like race with people. You really got to race. I mean, we're really fortunate. We got a good car. I've had that car for a long time, and over the years, just upgraded it a little bit here and there, and it really likes Latrobe Speedway. I mean, it just came alive.
And one thing I noticed, it seems like every week you're constantly working on the car. But one thing I noticed is a lot of guys want to run bigger tires. You're going for the smaller tires. It almost looks like you have donuts on the car.
Yeah, they're. I kind of made a joke the first night out. We were running some skinny like little tires last year, and we wanted to try something a little bit different. And we actually went with a little skinnier tire this year, and it's actually working just as well as the wider tires from last year. I call it wider, but I've seen guys with like 235s, 245s. We're down like the 185, 195 range. So. Yeah, and they're really little. They're like 65 and 70 series tires.
It almost has to be scary going into one of those turns as fast as you are, and you got that little tire.
Yeah, a lot of that depends on the suspension. It's just the suspension makes the tire work. The weight distribution, your shocks and springs and all that. Like some setups, it's really easy on a tire. Other setups, it's really hard on a tire, but maybe the cars would go exactly the same speed. This setup here, we got the car sprung real soft, and it tends to like with everything else, the way the weight is distributed and everything, it really tends to like that. I know for Fall Fest last year, after we came in from Victory Lane, there was a guy who finished, I think, like 7th or something, and you couldn't even touch his front tires. And mine, you could just lay your hand right on them, and we had been off track for the same amount of time. So that setup is really easy on tires. Like usually I run them 2 weeks, I'll flip them on a rim. I run them 2 more weeks, flip them again, and 2 more weeks, and then they're done. About 6 weeks and they're done. So that's pretty good for a dirt track,
Yeah, I mean, you're sliding, and when you're sliding, that's basically almost shaving the tire in a little way. Am I right?
Yeah. It depends on how abrasive the track is. Latrobe is not too bad. It was pretty dry and slick there on Saturday, and a couple of times, I mean, I drove it in pretty hard trying to catch Paul, and I turned the wheel, and like nothing would happen. The car would just go straight, so you had to just wait and wait. It feels like you're waiting forever, but eventually it'll scrub enough speed, and that's not really a fast way to go around, but I was kind of over driving the car a little bit, but eventually it'll scrub enough speed where it'll start to turn, and then you'll be okay, and you can get back on the throttle. But even with all of that, if you look at my tires, I mean, they're not too bad. I could easily run them again next week without flipping them. So.
And you run the quad 4 motor, correct?
Yeah. I'm the only one.
You would think with the amount of success and the speed that you have constantly, you'd see more of the quad 4s coming out. Are they I know it's an older motor, if I'm correct, compared to what some of the guys are running, but are they more readily available, or?
No, they're really hard to find, actually. They're getting really hard to find now. The old 2.3s are they're pretty much all gone. The 2.4s are still around. You can find them. I got a couple spare 2.4s and I think one spare 2.3 block, but they're like jewels. I hold on to those. There's the spare, the emergency spare, and the emergency spare. So we got plenty of pieces and parts, over the years. And I get guys who they find these things and they know I run the quad 4. They're like, hey, I'm scrapping this car. It's all rusted out. There's a motor in it. Do you want it? Yeah, sometimes, if I have time or if I have room, I'll take it. And then that's how I get a lot of my extra parts. They're just given to me.
And you mentioned the car is one that you've been running for a while. When did you build that Grand Am?
It's a Cavalier, and
Oh,
I built that car in 2010. So it's still in the original body. It's wrinkled up a little bit from running at Marion Center and a little bit at Dog Hollow, So we got bumped around a little bit, but we pounded those out. But it's not too bad. But it looks good from the stands. But yeah, I built that car in 2010.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and we did that kind of as a kind of a troll. I had a white car, and we were winning a lot at Dog Hollow, and so I built that car off to the side. Only like 2 people knew that I was building that car. I gave it to a friend of mine, Tim Bish. He runs the in the street stocks.
And Ohio Street.
Yeah, and I gave it to him, and he went to Dog Hollow and he won with it. So I think I started 12th that night. I finished 3rd. And he won the race with my car, and so that was a lot of fun, and we had a blast that. But he drove it again in 2012. He raced it 11 times, and he won 7 features. I got 2 seconds and 2 thirds. So that car has been amazing. It has never finished worse than 3rd place.
That is unreal.
I had a couple DNFs. Yeah, a couple DNFs where it broke. I think only 3 DNFs with it in all the time I run it. Had a transmission problem, and then I can't remember. There was something else that happened. I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was blowing oil out, and I just pulled off. And it was a new motor, and there was something going on with the rings. I don't know. I thought maybe I put them in wrong or something, but they turned out it was okay. So I think what it was is I tried breaking the motor in with 2050 weight oil, and it was just too thick. It was just too thick to break the motor in. It was blowing oil, so I pulled off. And then one time last year, I had the wire that connects for the throttle position sensor. The plug was bad, and the voltage kept going up and down. So it just wanted to spit and sputter. So I just did 1 lap to get my lap money, and then took it in. So that was it.
What track do you like looking better at? The bigger track or the smaller track?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I did not want to go to a bigger track. I like the more mid-sized tracks like Marion Center and Dog Hollow. Dog Hollow really, and we ran up Sportsman too. That was a nice track. It's a little egg-shaped. I really enjoyed racing up there. Ran down at Roaring Knob. That's a nice sized track, good mid-sized track. I would look at like Hummingbird as something like kind of small, but like the more mid-sized tracks is what I'm attracted to. But I just didn't want to go that fast, and I started calculating it out on the calculator, and I had to build a transmission. I didn't even know what gear ratio to try, what tire size. I must have crunched numbers on a calculator for probably 2 weeks, just over and over, trying different tire sizes and final drives and third gears, and trying to figure out what I needed to run. And we came out of the box. I mean, it was right on. Well, then it seemed like everybody picked up their speed from last year, and we needed a little bit more grunt. So we put a little bit smaller tire on just to give the car a little bit more gear, and it seems to be working.
How did you get involved in racing?
It goes back. I was 12 years old. I had a motorcycle. I was running around with my friends and everything, and my dad said, "Hey, your uncle's." I was hanging around the house, like pestering my parents, just being annoying, being a kid, acting goofy. And my dad's like, "Well, your uncle's working on a race car. Why don't you go help him?" So I rode my motorcycle across town. I lived in Ernest, Pennsylvania, and he's working on the car, and showed up and just started like handing him welding rods, as he was fixing the car, and being a gopher, cleaning parts, things like that. And by the time I was 14 years old, he worked in the coal mines. I tell the story all the time. He worked in the coal mines, and he worked kudo shift, midnight shift they call it now.
Yeah.
And he blew a motor up, and we had to have the motor ready for Lernerville on Friday. And we had all the parts and everything, but the motor setting in pieces, and there was just no way. It was like Thursday, and I was off school. I thought, well, I've seen him do it so many times, and he had me, use the torque wrench, and you have to get a feel for it. You can't crank it. You got to go easy and just let it click. And so he taught me how to do that. And from seeing him do it so many times, I thought, I've seen him do it, and I've handed him the tools. I've done everything. I just never did it by myself. So he went to work, and I stayed up and put the motor together. He came home in the morning. I was laying on the couch, and he was kind of frantic. He's like, "Hey, did you put that motor together?" I said, "Yeah." And then, so he's grilling me, "Hey, did you do this?" "Yeah, I did that." "Well, what did you torque that to?" "I did that," And I had the torque sequence for the small block Chevy cylinder head memorized. I didn't even need the book. I always had the book there just in case, but we did it so many times, And that motor, we went out Friday and we won with it at Lernerville. So, we were. I was like, phew, I was just glad that it didn't blow up and nothing happened to it. But and he breathed a sigh of relief too. He had a lot of money in that,
That's
So
awesome.
yeah. And then that motor made 750 horsepower on methyl alcohol, the very first motor ever put together by myself.
What class was that for?
What's that?
What class? Late model?
It was limited late models. They call it limited late model now. They called them semi-lates back then.
Who's your uncle?
Gary Pease.
I remember Gary. He used to have I called it the tribute to Flinner car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uncle one to John. And,
Yep.
Okay, I didn't realize Gary was your uncle.
Yeah. Then I had my Uncle Dick. He raced. They both raced. They called them. It would be like pure stock now. They called them claimers back then. Pure stock, and then that class sort of evolved into more like a street stock. But back then, the late models were less sophisticated than the street stocks are now.
Yeah.
Now they got suspension where the rear end rotates and everything. So it was pretty primitive back then. I mean, a lot of guys were using Chevy truck frame like chassis, and then they put a Camaro body on it. Yeah, that was the big setup back then. Or whenever people started using Camaro front stubs with the fabricated rear frame rails, that was like a revolution.
Yeah.
So we were involved with all that. So that was a lot of fun.
And how long have you been driving?
Started racing in 2005. I did probably 5 or 6 nights of racing in 2005, and I had a Grand Am back then. Started with a Grand Am and just a little single overhead cam quad 4. It made like 115 horsepower or something. But I set 3 goals for myself, Howie. Goal number 1 was to finish my first race. Whatever I did, I had to finish that first race. I don't care if I finished last. I had to stay on track, and I ended up getting into an accident, but I did finish the race. Okay, and goal number 2 was to win a feature within my first year of racing, and I won actually 2 features in 2005 or 2000. I'm sorry, it was 2005 I won those. Yeah, and then. Next goal was to finish top 10 in points, and we did that in 2006. Finished 3rd at Marion Center, and then I wanted to win a championship, and we won the Marion Center championship at Marion Center in 2007. And then we stepped away from it a little bit. I did a test at Jennerstown, and I had a dirt track set up on the car, and that doesn't work on asphalt.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I had it to the floor. Going through the corner at who knows how fast, but the back end was hanging out like a drift car. I was like, holy crap. So we tried changing some springs around and everything, but I told them guys, start me last. I was like 14th, start me in the back, and then race my way back up to 7th, which just really started getting a feel for it, and the race was over, but didn't have shaved tires or nothing, and it was fun, but I love that dirt. I love that dirt. I wouldn't mind trying asphalt again with a good car, but really, really enjoy dirt.
I remember because I was working at Jennerstown when you came up and tried it.
Yeah. I think you were an announcer back then.
Yep.
Back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like your announcing. Yeah. You announced that Rolling Bob too, didn't you?
Yeah, I was working the night you went up there in the fog.
Yeah, that was 2017.
Yep.
I got pictures of that. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we did the victory lane out behind the building because we were worried about
Yeah.
coming down on the track.
Yeah, and I was kind of upset because I wanted to get the picture with the crown and the king of the knob thing and the robe and everything, and I got my picture. I'm happy. I'm a happy camper. So I appreciate you helping me out there.
No problem. You earned that. And coming up, we have some in the month of August. We got the big money for the modified 4-cylinders, and we're gonna have a memorial to Jeff Ozos and a lot of great things coming up. And right now, you have to be predicted as one of the top runners to take that big money coming up. I mean, you're just flying.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But first, I just want to mention Jeff. I really didn't know Jeff that well. I did meet him at the banquet last year. We sat at the same table. We talked for a little while. And I tell you what, he was just the nicest guy, a very gentle guy, soft-spoken, great racer. I really enjoy watching some of the videos where you can see us racing together, and real good competitor. And I kind of know some of the stuff that he had compared to what I have, and that boy was fast for what he had. I mean, being limited, because I think it was in asphalt cars from what I was told.
It was at one point. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. And so he's pretty limited on horsepower. So for him to do with that car what he did, it's unreal. It's kind of like Tiffany. Now, like I shake my head, man. I told her dad, I said, I don't know how she does it. Like with the automatic transmission, like she's finishing better than I would. I tell you what. She's doing extremely well.
Hey, I was gonna make a suggestion for you.
Yeah.
On arch starts and restarts, I know you're not superstitious, obviously, because you have a green car. But
no, I don't believe in superstition at all.
I think what happens is I refer to you as the king of green because it doesn't matter where you're starting. By the time you hit turn number 1, you're normally up in first. And I think what's going on is you're not seeing Denny's green flag. You're seeing the green on your hood. And that's throwing you up. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I did some drag racing back in the day. And my third time out drag racing, I won first place. And my uncle got me into that a little bit, and
Uncle Gary?
Whenever, yeah, that's how he started racing. He started drag racing. And whenever I see that light, I'm watching the light. When that light, it's just like drag racing. As soon as I see that light, I go. A couple times I've been a little bit late on it, but just like at the drag strip, I'm not even worried about that flag. I'm watching the light whenever I see that light. You can't watch both,
Right.
And if I'm starting in the back, like I think I started 6th in the heat race, and for me to kind of peek underneath the visor that I have on the car to try to see the flagman, I mean, I could do it, but it's kind of it's easier just to look straight ahead and just wait for the light to light up and then fire.
Fire it out.
Yeah, they called me for jumping, but I got it on film. I didn't jump, man. I didn't jump, but it's all good. We still did good. So we were joking around about it, and I started in the back and made it up front, and then they restarted me in the back again, and we came up to the front. I was my son. He's like he was joking around with me. He says, "Well, you don't always win the heat race, but when you do, you pass the entire field twice." So yeah, that was a good race. That was a good race. So we were very fortunate.
Now, a lot of people who are into racing, it normally has something to do with their day job. Your day job is you're a Taekwondo instructor?
Well, I have many vocations and avocations. I work full time at Lowe's in Latrobe.
Okay.
And I tell you what, Lowe's is really taking good care of me. During the pandemic, I want to give a little shout out to Lowe's. That's a really busy store. It does really well. It has an amazing store manager. I wouldn't want to work for anybody else as far as that goes. He's an amazing guy, Jason Probst. And I have a wonderful supervisor. Her name's April, and she's a taskmaster. She keeps us busy. Holds you accountable. But she really fights for us. She goes to bat for us and fights for us too. But during the pandemic, they gave us they allowed us overtime, and they paid us $2 extra an hour for working during the pandemic.
That's amazing.
And I do own a Taekwondo studio. I work at Lowe's during the day, and I teach the classes in the evenings. And because of Lowe's, that's the only reason I still have my school, because I finished June of 2020 with $26 in my bank account. And I used all the money that I made at Lowe's to pay all the bills. I paid all my rent, all my utilities, everything. And I kept up with everything and all my home bills and everything. And we just squeaked by, but we made it. Then in July, it started getting better. And now we're pretty much back where we were pre-pandemic now.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's my story of Lowe's, my Lowe's story. But as far as the Taekwondo studio, I opened out in 1989. I started training in 1984, and I opened my school in '89, and I love it. It's just become part of me. It's just part of my life. It is me. I love my students. Love teaching the kids, and we have a great teen and adult group, and the parents are amazing. Had some life struggles over the years with my mom passing away, going through a divorce, and on and on and on. But they're really loyal students, loyal parents, and if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I'd be.
Well, why don't we go ahead now and go ahead and thank everybody who helps on the race car. You have the tire company out at Glen Campbell, and go ahead and mention that crew. And I know one of your biggest supporters there every week is your son Brandon.
Yeah, first I got to mention Brandon. Yeah, he changed his work availability so that he could be at the track with me. Like, I hardly see him during the week. Like, we just see each other in passing. He knew I was going to do this interview tonight, so he made dinner. It's pork tenderloin and potatoes.
Oh,
so
wow.
After I'm done with the interview, I get to eat dinner. So he's excited about the interview and everything. But anyway, he helps out with the car, helps out in the pits, and he does a little bit of filming so I can see what the car is doing, and because it's a little bit different seeing it from the outside than the GoPro. And we use the GoPro a lot to watch and see what's happening on track. But so I got to thank him first off. And my mom, she's not around anymore, but she would absolutely love what's happening now. She'd be right there at the track and everything. She never missed a race. So, but she passed away in 2018. But
sorry for your loss.
Yeah. But we still remember her, and we just wish we could go racing with her again. But sponsors, Lowe's has helped me out. Lowe's in Latrobe, and my uncle Gino Excavation. He's got an excavating outfit. Anytime I need, like, if I need a shop press or if I need some help, maybe doing something extra, he's always there for me. I'm actually due to call him. It's been a while since I called him, and try and get him down to the track. But then we got Campbell Tire there in Blairsville.
Yeah.
They mountain balance all the tires for me. I don't even know how much money I'm saving. Like, it's ridiculous how much money I'm saving just with their help, just being able to mountain balance the tires. And they do such a good job. It's an incredibly professional shop. I'm really, like, I always do all my own work on my car. But if I have anything that I can't do, they're the first people I go to, and I get all my tires there too. So great guys. Mitch. He died last year. He was the owner, and that's been handed off to a family member. He's from North Carolina, and so he comes up and visits and kind of just keeps an eye on the shop and everything. but all the employees there, we know each other, and they help me out. And I just seen the new owner. He gave me a couple promotional T-shirts. So I told him we're winning. We're mentioning the shop in Victory Lane. He's grinning ear to ear. So he's really into it, just the way Mitch was. So yeah, we're having a good time.
Bring him up one night.
What's that?
You have to bring him up to Lake Treb one night.
Yeah. I got to try and get it. Holiday weekend. I think he was a little bit busy, but I'm going to network with him. Definitely try and get him to come to the track for sure.
Hey Bob, we appreciate you taking time and going for a ride. 4 wins already this year, and I'll tell you what, as we get later in the year, big money on the line. Keep your eyes on the Campbell Tire, G&L Excavating, car number 10P.
Yeah. A lot of people are asking me why 99, why I have the number 99. I wanted to mention that. So if anybody wants to know why, they can message me on Facebook, and I will tell them why. I'm not going to talk about it here, but I will tell you why we got the 99 on the car.
Okay. Sorry, the 99P now.
Yeah. We started out as the 10P.
Yeah.
And we played around with that number a little bit. We had the 1B on the car with never Tim Bishop's running. That was his number back then. And then we had the white car with an XP on it, which X is the Roman numeral for 10. But we that was kind of like a play on that number on the letter and everything. In gaming, XP stands for experience points. And I'd been racing for 10 or 12 years by that time, and so I thought, well, I got a lot of experience. We'll put XP in the car, but it's the room number 10. So we had a little bit of fun with that, and now we got the 99 on the car. So
okay,
it might be a different number next year. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to get you on again and find out the reason for the 99.
Yeah. I'll send it to you via messenger.
Okay, that works.
All right, buddy.
Hey, Bob, again, we appreciate your time, and good luck the rest of the year.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, Howie. This is a lot of fun.
And we appreciate all you do and supporting Lake Treb Speedway.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Thank you. Race fans, that's going to conclude tonight's episode of Ride Along with Howie. And I'd like to go ahead and thank our sponsors, Joe's Body Shop and Towing, Specialty Metals, K2 Engineering, Rock Auto, Seal Tight, DJS Swag, Stone & Company, Vinyl Destination. And always remember, if you're looking for a job, General Cartwright is hiring, and they're offering competitive wages. Race fans, again, I'd like to thank all those sponsors. Thank you for tuning in. And please remember, support those who support racing, and we'll see you this Saturday at the races.